What is going on, guys? It's Idle here, and today we're going to be going over the Star Glitter Exchange reset for November and what items you should be picking up from the shop this next coming month. Let's get into it. So I'm going to be giving an in-depth review on every single weapon here in the shop, their stats, their passives, and which one out of these should you get based off of the characters in your party. Now, before I start, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button for more Genshin Impact content. I'm actually running a $80 giveaway, so get in on that by subscribing and hashtagging Primo Gem giveaway. So as you can see here in the shop, we got two new characters here. It's going to be Bennett and Lisa this month. Bennett, I covered his ult in my last video. He's been getting a lot of attention lately because of the stacking damage that he provides the team. When you're above 70% health with his ult on the field, he's going to give your team a damage buff. So whoever's out on the field at the moment will do increased damage, and we've seen videos of like Diluc hitting some crazy numbers. If you need another copy there to get his constellation up, you got that option. Lisa, I've seen some gameplay. There's some YouTubers and Twitch streamers who've been maining Lisa, and she does some crazy amount of damage with some good artifacts. So if you need another copy of her, you have that. In my opinion, it's a little bit too pricey, $34. I mean, that's not something I would do. I'm literally a type of person who would just go for the Intertwined Fates or the Acquainted Fates. Damone Kim said it great himself. If there's a 5-star in the shop coming soon, you never know. So I just only be spending, personally me, on the Intertwined and Acquainted Fates until we see if they ever add that feature in. So let's get into the weapons itself. You have all the Blackcliff weapons. You can buy 3 in the month, so 3 refinements. You have the longsword, the slasher, the pole, the amulet, and the warbow. So we will start with the longsword. The secondary stat type is physical damage bonus. Phenomenal. So you can put this sword on a lot of characters that are in the meta right now, and it's going to help them do a lot more damage. For example, Kei-Ching, Bennett, Kaya. This is a great weapon. You can build Bruiser Jean. So you have options. Physical damage bonus is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to read the passive to you guys. It says, after defeating an enemy, attack is increased by 12% for 30 seconds. This effect has a maximum of 3 stacks, and the duration of each stack is independent of others. So you can go up to 36%. But what the last sentence means is, let's say you got your first stack and the timer starts. Let's say your first stack is 6 seconds in, and then you get the second stack. You're not going to have 24% attack for 30 seconds. You're going to have 24% attack for 24 seconds because you already wasted 6 seconds on the first stack. That's what it means by independent of the others. But this weapon synergizes great in itself because you're getting 36% attack in total, and that can scale up as you refine the weapon, and you have the physical damage bonus. Now, would I pick this weapon up? Personally, no. And here's why. It's after defeating an enemy, so you're not really going to use this in boss fights. And in my opinion, when I feel we get later on in the game, it's going to be a lot of boss grinding. This is not going to be useful if you're just only dealing with a boss, because then you're not going to get the passive to kick, right? My main sword user is Kei-Ching, but I have Aquila. Now, if you don't have Aquila, there's some other great sword options that I go over in my video about talking which 4-star swords are the best. I'll link that down below there for you guys to check out as well. This one right here, though, I would pass up on. If you're early game and you're farming a lot of domains, running through the stories still, this is great. And don't get me wrong, if you don't have a great character in any of the other slots and you want to go full refinement on this, I wouldn't complain, because physical damage bonus and stacking attack is awesome. And if you scroll down, you can see how the stats by level increase. So for physical damage, you're starting at 14% roughly. Go another 6.5% increase there. And as you can see, it keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. So you're getting at 80, 33.5% physical damage bonus. It's great. Personally, for me, though, it would be a pass. So next, we got the Blackcliff Warbow. Blackcliff Warbow, secondary stat type, is attack. What the passive reads for the Warbow is the exact same passive that the previous weapon read, increasing attack per enemies killed, independent of the others. Now, with the Warbow, the great thing about this that was better than the last weapon is the secondary stat type, which is attack. So, you know, all your skills, your artifacts, a lot of stuff scales off of your base attack, or your attack percent is scaled off of your base attack. So this is going to help you do a lot more damage. So who I would put this on, these are your options right here. They're all great options in my opinion. Fischl has some better options, for example, like Rust. But this is actually a solid option. It's just, with Fischl, you're floating around with Oz a lot, and you want to be able to, you know, hop in and out of her if you're using her as support. If you're using a main DPS, sure, that's a great option you can use on her if you don't have Rust. Venti, he's more of a support. If you want to build him DPS, you can. But a lot of the times you're just using him for his ult and his swirl. Amber, there's endgame content with the wit that you can use her, so she's a solid recommendation. Diona, we'll see when she comes out how she is, because she's a healer, so we'll see how this weapon will play off with her. So the bow's honestly a great choice, because you can run it on a variety of the bow characters right now in the game. So it's a solid pickup for me. If you don't have Rust for Fischl, I definitely recommend. Next, let's get into the Polearm, Blackcliff Pole. Secondary stat type, crit damage. I'll get into that in a second. Same passive. After defeating an enemy, attack is increased by 12% for 30 seconds. Stacks 3 times. Independent stacks. Secondary stat type, crit damage. This will only be good if you have the crit rate to back it up. Again, this will only be good if you have the crit rate to back it up. Where are you going to find the crit rate? If your weapon already has crit damage, the only place you're left is your artifacts. For me personally, if you don't have at least 50% crit rate, I would not recommend using this, because you want to be hitting at least every other hit a crit, so you can take advantage of the scaling crit damage, right? So the crit damage starts at 21. At 80, it scales all the way up to 50% bonus crit damage. So you're going to be putting out a lot of damage, and it synergizes well within itself with that attack percent. So definitely great polearm to pick up. Just have the artifacts with crit rate on them to take advantage of the secondary stat. Because if you're not critting, there's no point of having the crit damage. You'd rather have attack there and hitting more consistent numbers. And here's an example I'll give you. Let's say you only have 20% crit and you have all the crit damage, right? 1 out of every 5 attacks will crit. But your basic attacks are going to hit, I'll just use a flat number of 1,000. So every auto, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. The 5th auto will be like 1,500. We'll just keep it simple numbers, right? If you add all that up, your total is 5,500 in damage. If you have attack percent as a secondary stat type, you still have the 20% crit rate, right? So let's say every auto now is, with attack percentage, you're dealing 1,300 per hit. And then you have that same 20% crit rate, right? So you're going to do 13, 13, 13, 13. And then the crit will put you at, because the crit will scale off of your attack percent, the crit will put you at like 16, right? So if you add all that up, you're looking at like 6,800. Of course, no, that's just an example. Numbers change, but you're doing a more consistent number with the attack percent if you have lower crit rate. If you have higher crit rate, definitely go with the crit damage. Here's your users. Of course, 2 of them aren't in the game right now. Jingling's your only option. And honestly, this is a great option for her. So, and everyone got her for free. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, right? If you're a free-to-play player and you have got no other options for her, I would pick it up. 100%. This would be my option as a free-to-play player. Let's go into the Blackcliff Slasher. Same passive, Secondary stat type as the last is crit damage as well. Claymore. Hitting big numbers always. There's a lot of great characters in the game that use claymores, right? So you have Diluc, Noelle, Razor, Beidou, Chongyun. They're all amazing across the board. You can literally build crit rate on any of them. And this would be great. Razor, this is great if you have crit rate because his attack speed when he pops his ult, he's just going to be attacking over and over and over and over. And imagine increased attack speed with crit damage on your weapon, right? Fast crit damage. It's crazy. I mean, Diluc's spamming E all the time. Imagine if those attacks are always critting. Noelle has a higher range in her ult. Imagine AoE crit damage everywhere. Like, the slasher, in my opinion, is a solid option as well. If I had a Nat 5, for example, like Diluc, I will go with the slasher, 100%. If it is one of the better claymores in the game that you do have to choose from. And if I were to choose out of the last few weapons that I just went over and the slasher, it would be the slasher. Let's say if I had a character in each of the categories, definitely I'd go with the slasher because you have so much claymore users that you will always be swapping in and out, and claymore users are just so handy to have on your team. They deal high numbers, which is always fun to see. They're just really great characters overall, right? So this is a great weapon that you can even run on your secondary claymore user as an offhand. All right, and last weapon here we got is the Blackcliff Amulet. So secondary stat type similar to the last two, crit damage. Passive though is different. Defeating an enemy increases the next elemental's burst damage by 24%, lasts for 30 seconds, max 3 stacks. This is crazy. You're getting 72% extra damage on your elemental burst. Like what? Let me say that again. You're getting 72% extra damage on your elemental burst. One character off the rip that I think is already going to be amazing with this is Mona, right? Mona's going to be amazing. Klee's going to be amazing. Lisa's going to be amazing. Ningguang's going to be amazing. Those are the 4 main ones that I would say would benefit a lot from this if you're building crit rate. However, most of the times with mages, you're not building crit rate. You're going to build just attack percent and elemental mastery. That's going to give you plenty of damage. Mona, you're building attack percent, elemental mastery, and energy recharge, because that's going to give her additional damage. You don't have room in Mona to give her, crit rate and crit damage on top of all of that as well. You could, but you're going to need end game artifacts, which we're nowhere near that right now. This, however, is a pass from me. Reason being is that secondary stat type crit damage, even though it looks appealing, on mages most of the time it's not, because you want attack percent. You want energy recharge, because normally their E skills and their Q skills, their elemental bursts and their elemental skills, they're normally amazing, and you want to always have them up. So I would have energy recharge, the secondary stat type, or attack percent. Even elemental mastery, right? So there's some great other options you can choose other than the Blackcliff Amulet for this slot. This one's a solid pass, for me at least. The passive is very unique and very amazing, and you can put out some crazy amounts of damage, but once again, you're going to need the crit rate, right, to back up the crit damage. But for me, at the end of the day, I will not go with the Blackcliff Amulet. I'm literally going to be only looking at the pole or the slasher. Those are my 2 solid options, right? As a free-to-play who's using Jingling as their main carry, definitely the pole. If you're using any other characters who are a Claymore user, because most of the time you will have at least one on the team, I would go with the slasher. There's not many bow users in the game, so I wouldn't recommend the Warbow. If you pick official later on, if you don't have her right now when they give her out for free, this is a great option if you don't have Rust. But if you're not going to use her as your main DPS, then there's no point of this, right? So that's my summary, guys. And keep in mind, at the end of the day, it's your gameplay. Your box is going to look a lot different than the next person's box. So get what you think will benefit your gameplay the most, with your party synergy the most. If you don't have Claymore users, why are you going to pick up the Blackcliff Slasher, right? If you're just running waifus, you don't like any of the weapons here, don't even get any of the weapons. Save them and maybe even get Lisa because she's a waifu. At the end of the day, it's, whatever makes you happy, but that's just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt, of course. I'm just here to give you my input with my experience in gacha games on how these weapons normally play out with the stats they're given and with the characters that we have access to in the game at the moment. But that's it for me today, guys. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, comment down below your favorite and which one you think you'll be getting. Other than that, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.